I'm Stephen Glaister. I'm Director of the RAC Foundation. The Foundation is an independent research body. It used to be related to the RAC club, the Rescue Service. It isn't anymore. And we carry out research and promote the results of that research in the areas of economics, environment, safety and mobility, especially in relation to roads. But I've had considerable time over the years working with government on various inquiries. A long time ago, the Leach inquiry into trunk road appraisal in the 1970s, which really set down what is now the new approach to appraisal and the subsequent developments on economic appraisal of roads that the government currently uses. The HTMA conference this year comes at a time which is more interesting and important than for many, many years. Right now, we have, believe it or not, 5 different reviews running within government. We have the Treasury Review of Vehicle Excise Duty, Treasury Review of the Private Finance Initiative, we've got a Department of Transport and Treasury Review of what's called feasibility of different models of ownership and charging for roads. We've got a Department for Transport review of a road strategy and a Department of Transport review of overall transport policy. All of these are current, and at a time when the effects of the spending review in 2010 are becoming real, local authorities are really beginning to feel the effects of the cuts, which haven't bitten yet as hard as they're going to. A lot of people are beginning to understand that. And the government has cut the funding for the Highways Agency revenue and capital budgets, and the government have separately decided they need to have more infrastructure to serve the economic growth agenda. So it's a very interesting time, and really big decisions are in the air at the moment in Whitehall. And it's really important, I believe, that all of us in the industry are well informed about what's going on and use that information to put pressure on the government to do the right thing. There's a gap between what the general public want, the people we're trying to serve, and what national and local government are doing in many cases. So I think it's really important that the people at the sharp end understand what's going on and can put their voice in to try and persuade the politicians, local politicians and national politicians, to do things slightly differently. It's important that we all understand the realities of the funding situation we face as they apply to roads and more broadly to transport. And I want to try and explain that. I'm sure people will be generally aware of it, but just so we have a common understanding. And then to explain what the options might be over the next few years. The government are considering several different options which could have very different outcomes, ranging at one extreme to creating a sort of privatised utility for the strategic road network. If they did that, how many local authority roads would that include, if any? I don't know, but that's for discussion. I think one of the points I would want to make, and which Alan Cook made in his review of highways, is the importance of having a long-term view for the road network. I mean, we all know that, it's obvious, but the government doesn't have one. So we need to understand that and put our professional minds together to argue about what a long-term view would really look like for the road network. I think it's really important that we'll get together and try and have some kind of concerted story to tell, to really make the argument that in serving the general public, we do need better maintained roads. The general public, and in particular many professionals who are just very busy, haven't had time to understand the simple facts. And when you get down and do this simple arithmetic, as I hope to explain at the conference, you understand just how difficult the funding situation is and how difficult the simple engineering is becoming on highways. And intuitively we all know that, roughly speaking, if you save £1 today, you're going to end up spending £3 tomorrow to put it right. I mean, this is simple engineering arithmetic. But somehow we don't get the public to understand that, and we make do and mend. They don't like the result because they have a bad road and a bad pavement experience, and we end up with a third world sort of country, which we don't really need to do. I mean, we're a rich country, we really should be able to sort this out. So I think we've muddled along for years and years, hence the big backlog of maintenance in local authorities particularly, because we haven't faced up to the basic facts, and so we need to understand that and then put pressure on the politicians to put it right. I think the best we can do is to try and convey the strength of our case. There's lots of good ways of spending money, but actually when you do the calculations, and indeed the government themselves do these calculations, you can demonstrate without doubt, in my view, that the value for public money on better roads maintenance is higher than almost anything else, particularly when you include the safety considerations, that when you do road maintenance you can actually improve the road safety. It's very simple. The politicians are under pressure from people who represent the general public, who feel very strongly about the health service, about education, about social services. The public has a very strong sense of fairness. And in that kind of debate, unless we are able to make our case very clearly, we with interest in roads and roads maintenance, will lose out in that debate, because we have to make the case that actually poor people use roads, old people use roads, and if we don't maintain them properly, they will have a poorer quality of life, they'll get injured, and it really matters. But it's not obvious to the people who make the decisions. So that's the hard thing, to convey to politicians who are quick to see the pain involved in reducing benefits to the elderly, or the poor, or the sick, that actually delaying roads maintenance is just as much a problem in terms of the quality of life for the general population.